just going to make that banner go away. Okay. Here we go. Good evening. My name is Randolph Mickeljohn. I'm a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals of the town of Brookline and the chair of this evening's meeting. Before we begin, I will confirm that all members and other persons anticipated to participate on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Wadner Auger?
Here.
Jesse Geller?
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Nicole Perret?
Here.
All speakers should identify themselves by name prior to speaking. This meeting of the ZBA in open session is being conducted remotely and in a manner that is consistent with Governor Healy's March 29th, 2023 bill, which extends to March 31st, 2025, the temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law that were originally put in place by Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 executive order concerning the outbreak of COVID-19. The governor's bill authorizes this body to meet entirely remotely so long as adequate public access is provided. Adequate public access does not include public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the ZBA is convening by video conference via Zoom as posted on the town's calendar, which identifies how the public may access the meeting. Be advised that this meeting is being held and that some attendees may be participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town website through a link in the agenda. The meeting will follow the agenda unless I note otherwise. Next, I will cover some ground rules that will permit clear and effective conduct of our business and help to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will invite each member by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold yours until your name is called. Please also remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking and to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Before responding, please wait until the floor is yielded to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through me. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call. Finally, I will explain how members of the public may speak in this meeting. If you wish to speak, please send a message to our meeting host, Nicole Perret, using the chat section of the Zoom. You can find the chat icon at the bottom of your screen. Click on it, and when the chat window opens on the right, enter your name. Nicole will cue speakers in the order their requests were received, and she will also ask if you would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to the project. When it is your turn to speak, I will call on you by name only. Please begin your remarks by stating your name and address. All right, I'm going to close that window and make the Zoom bigger and then turn to the agenda, where we have 4 cases before us this evening, and we will hear them in the order in which they appear on the agenda. Here's how we're going to proceed for each of the cases to be heard. I will introduce the case by number and address and identify the applicant or person who will speak on the applicant's behalf and ask if they will waive a reading of the public notice. The applicant will present the request for relief, and if the board requests it, the design of the project. And board members may ask questions of the applicant. Next, we will hear public comment, and I will first call on those members of the public wishing to speak in favor, and then on those opposed. We will then hear the reports of the planning department and the planning board, and comments by the building department. Finally, the board will deliberate and give its decision. All right, moving to the agenda, our first case this evening is number 2024-000043, concerning property at 1228 Boylston Street, where the proposed project is to convert an existing bank to a new business, a blinds to go store. This is a modification to this board's earlier decision on case number 2977-A, which was heard in 1990. Who is here as the applicant or on behalf of the applicant?
I am, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Allen, good evening. Will you waive a reading of the public notice?
I certainly will. Thank you.
Thank you. Please tell the board about your request for relief.
Sure. For the record, my name is Robert Allen. I have a law practice at 300 Washington Street in Brookline Village here representing Blinds to Go. We have Bob Murray and Janet Beaujolais here from Blinds to Go. We also have our architect, Gregory McIntosh. Just so you have a little background, Blinds to Go started in 1951 selling home goods door to door and then opened the first brick and mortar in 1954 up in Montreal. The business has grown over the last 70 years, including 80 showrooms in Canada and the US. They've been really looking for a location here in Brookline. They know this Brookline market. They know that there's a lot of people in Brookline going to their other locations, so they wanted to find something, particularly in this Chestnut Hill area. You may remember the Santander Bank had been there, been vacant for at least a couple, 3 years, going by my memory. And they thought this would be a perfect location. It's a standalone. It's got some parking. Just needed some minor adjustments, and they figured out a way to do it without tearing down the building, which is always something that's important here in the town. The Brookline process for Blinds to Go actually started in April with preliminary meetings before the planning board. They had a number of comments, requests, concerns regarding the plan. We made all those adjustments and finally got back to the board on December 5th. We're pleased to be before the ZBA tonight. We do have the support of the planning board. As this board can imagine, timing is crucial, particularly when it comes to commercial. And I know Attorney Gallo, who handles a lot of this, can appreciate this, but a lot of timing is in the lease. And this process has been going for 7 months now, and I'm not blaming the town for all of it, but sometimes things can take a long time, and we are in a tight timeline now with the Santander landlord to get a project approved. So we're very happy to be before here, especially taking up a vacant lot. We're eager to begin construction and open as soon as possible, and I know the town doesn't like to see empty storefronts. Just by way of zoning, this is a G2 general business district, which is the largest and most permissive zoning district for commercial uses, right at Route 9, at the corner of Route 9 and Hawley. Star Market's across the street. The Bank of America, Mattress Firm is kind of down the old Finagle site, I call it, is kind of to the other side. And then there's emergency care to the other direction. There's also Brookline Bank to the other direction. So under zoning, a special permit is required for design review due to the location on Boylston Street. The planning board did have some concerns about a 2D image we showed at their hearing and asked us to come back for final design review. They were perfectly fine with going to the zoning board to get the zoning relief. They just, rather than having Polly have the final design review, which is typically what this board sees, they wanted to go back just so they could do two things. One, understand the 3D image as it relates to a portion of the roof, and two, to see the signage and related to it. So when we go back, we will do the signage and the final design review before the planning board, assuming we're successful before this board. We're also requesting the ZBA to modify the prior 1990 decision, ZBA case 2977, which is 1990, which requires overnight neighborhood parking from close of business to 7:30 a.m. I'll get into that a little bit more. While there were no EV requirements for this, we did get some early feedback from staff. They requested if we would consider doing it. We did. We had an EV charging station that will service two vehicles. So we were happy to do that. We provided you with a 509-2A special permit state as it relates to design review. In that, we discussed preservation of trees and landscape, the closure of the second curb cut, which we did. So there's only one entrance in and out now versus what some people didn't like, particularly the first time around with the drive-through and the second exit. I also talked about relations of building to environment. the relation of building to the form of the streetscape to the neighborhood, circulation, stormwater, advertising, heritage, and energy efficiency. If this board wants, I can go into any of those in more detail, but I did provide you with a written update of each one of those. With that, Mr. Chair, I could bring up Greg and he can walk you through the proposal if you would, if you want to see it, and then I can get into the zoning afterwards.
When you, thank you. When you say go walk you through the proposal, do you mean design drawings?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I think I would like to have you do that. So, sorry, what was the second question?
And oh, no, that's you answering that first question makes the second question moot. So,
okay.
So Greg, can you jump on and if it's okay with the chair, jump on and share your screen and walk through the proposal?
Hello, my name is Greg McIntosh from Lincoln Architects. I am looking to try to share the screen right now. Hold on one second, please. Can everyone see this document? This is the cover sheet for the current submission.
Yes, and if you could fill that, thank you. That's better. If you just fill the full screen.
This is the locust plan. And here is the existing Santander Bank, the proposed blinds to go. This is the mattress firm. This is the Bank of Brookline, and the other buildings coming along here. This is obviously the eastbound side, Holly Road. This is a version of the building. This is the mattress firm building right here. This is the proposed front elevation. It's important to note, you see this roof line right here? That's the existing roof line. Nothing that is being done to this building will increase the height of the building. Here are some typical examples of blinds to go imagery. This one in the lower left happens to be right near my house in Framingham. Here are some typical blinds to go. Notice the size of these red bands in other locations. And then if you were to look at what is being proposed, this is a much more subdued version of that and a much more low-key version of that. And this was a rendering that our firm did and that actually set into context with a photo. And there's a mattress firm right here. And again, another site plan showing location.
Yeah, Mr. McIntosh, what could I ask you while you had this slide up, could you just walk us through the site plan and the views of the buildings at the top? Very interesting photographs. We hadn't seen them before in our packet, and I just want to make sure we all understand where those buildings are. Right. The mattress firm building right here is, right, this is the blinds to go. 228 right here. Okay. At 1234 is the mattress firm building. Please note that it's a bit taller than the blinds to go building. And then this next building here, which is a whole series of other buildings, is pretty large, and that's right here at 1244 Boylston Street. And then the Charles Schwab building is right here. Now, the Bank of Brookline is right here, right across the street at Holly Lane. And as earlier discussed, the grocery store is across the street.
So that's basically from Tully to Holly.
Right, that's the whole block, the blinds to go and the three buildings across the top.
Correct. That's right.
All right, thank you.
Yep. And then these are this is the view of across the street to give you more context. You know, the commercial buildings in the area and the Star Market, as you can see. Here is the existing building survey. This is the drive-through. Here's our original curb cut that will remain. This is an additional curb cut that is in place right now. What we are proposing is to maintain this curb cut, fill in this whole area here, rebuild the sidewalk, rebuild the curbing with like materials in kind. The EV car charging station for 2 vehicles is scheduled to be placed right here. The current drive-through will be filled in and used as a receiving area for the blinds to go. It's important to note that the balance of the rest of the building footprint does not change. The front of the building is still located where it currently is now, and the sides and the back are located where they are now. Here is a existing conditions floor plan of the building as it is as a Santander Bank. And one thing to note that this is the sprinkler room, the water service comes right in here. Here's the existing drive-through. This is the existing mechanical mezzanine. This is a demolition plan showing the proposed work that's necessary to do the interior renovations.
You can focus on the exterior. You don't have to get into the interior layout,
Yep.
Greg.
Here is another view of the front of the Blinds to Go building. This is the bank of Brookline. Here's the mattress firm. This is the Blinds to Go store. And where that sprinkler room was, we are going to maintain that as a sprinkler room. So we're going to put glass around it and then fill in the walls there just to maintain the utility infrastructure. Here is a view of the building going down Holly Lane toward Route 9. This is the drive-through that's being filled in. This roof structure is existing. It's important to also note that the building will have less facade impact because the existing vaulted roof line at the entrance will be taken out and just a straight line drawn across. It'll be reducing some of the street presence of the building and, you know, facing the neighborhoods. This is a comparison between the existing front elevation and the proposed front elevation. This band of red metal panels is 2 feet 6 inches, and referring back to the previous examples we sent you, that is far more discreet than a lot of the other facilities for Blinds to Go. There's the existing roof lines, there's the existing parapet hiding the mechanical equipment. None of that is changing. None of the roof line is changing where the drive-through was. This brick pillar right there is existing, and that's going to be remaining. This is the facade facing east, right next to the mattress firm stores. You can see the existing windows are remaining. This is the bank of Brookline in the distance. We're just sending the red band back just a little bit and a little bit of the glass, just so that your eye can catch into the showroom as you're walking around the corner. This is the rear of the building where the parking lot is. As you can tell, the arch has been removed. And this is where the drive-through was. And this is being now infilled. This is Holly Lane facade. And this is where the drive-through is, and this is where it's being infilled. We're removing some of the mechanical ventilation dormers that were here, and we're just going to be filling them in. These are building sections that are describing the massing. And basically this is all existing, this is all existing. And the only facade work that's being done is on this front portion on either side. And that is the presentation, folks. Be more than happy to field any questions if anyone has any.
So just so you understand some of the sort of background with the town, when we came in, you can imagine too much red had a lot of concerns. You saw some of the other pictures of some of the other locations that had some concerns, and we kind of felt that we're able to compromise and do two things really. Get that kind of red band around it that is synonymous with blinds to go, but keep it at 2 feet, 6 inches, I think he said. But
Correct.
I think the key thing is we kept that right on Route 9. And then as you go around the building, I won't say it's a residential feel, but it's definitely a calm down, and just the back of the building just blends right into the back of the neighborhood, which actually faces the housing area. So the red faces Route 9, faces Star Market, and the back of the building that faces is just discreet looking without sort of big pop blinds to go red signage there. So we felt that was appropriate, and I believe the planning board agreed with that.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. I'm going to have I want to come back. I have a couple of questions about the planning board process.
Yep.
But before that, I want to open it up to my fellow board members. And before I do that, I want to just ask about one other piece of information, which was a feature of the 1990 decision that had to do with parking by the general public in the neighborhood after hours. Can you tell us about the status of that, since that time, and what, if any, continuation of that is now proposed?
Sure. Randolph, would you be okay if we dealt with sort of the design first, and I get into that once we kind of close the design, and I can talk about some of the conditions, or do you want me to talk about it now?
Well, it's on my mind. I'd like to know
Okay.
about it now, and then I do think we'll have some questions about design.
Sure. So the decision was put in 1990. The neighbors came out in force, feeling that the impact on Holly Lane with the drive-through in particular was driving a lot of concerns about the ability to park and taking away spaces, because now there were 3 openings instead of there might have been 0 openings back then. I think both things, whatever it was before, both emptied out to Route 9. And at that particular time, a decision was put in that said, petitioner will make available free of charge 25 on-grade parking spaces for overnight parking on a first-come, first-served basis. Overnight parking shall be made available from close of business and till 7:30 a.m. And the concern was bank, there'd be constant in and out, particularly with the drive-through. So, I mean, listen, we have a couple concerns about that. One, the Supreme Court has acted since that time period, exactly 4 years after that, to talk about the whether certain conditions have a correlation between the impact that is provided to the government and the government need, right? But in particular, I can't answer your question as to what it's been like over all those years, but I can tell you that since April, I've gone by sort of 3 times to flag, to put little pamphlets on the cars that were there. There's typically about 6 cars there, 5 or 6 cars parked there. And
so can I jump in? Sorry. So are you saying that some people unrelated to the business do still park there? I'm not asking for quantities, but the pattern is still going on.
Some people park there 24/7 because my note was still on the same car after 3 times going there. And actually, one of the persons called me, finally. I only got 1 call of all my pamphlet, and said that, well, the town informed them that this was a public lot and could be used by the public. I mean, listen, the concern I have is that we have no idea who's parking there. We have no idea what time they're parking there. The condition says 25 people during bank hours. Our hours is going to be retail, a little bit different. Blinds to go isn't going to have the driving impact that a bank would have, particularly without the drive-through. And, the town charges for overnight parking, and there's clearly liability issues without issuing a license. I can tell you this, we have no trouble working something out with neighbors. I've asked them. One showed up at the planning board. Her father shows up every now and then and needs a parking spot. But I think you can understand from a liability standpoint, we need to know who's parking there, when they're parking there. We need to have names. We need to issue something. But we haven't talked to my client about whether there should be a charge or not. But since 1990, I can tell you that the Schwab building, the mattress building, the Brookline Bank building, and even the emergency care building has all changed uses, and there was no parking allowed or required on any of those.
Right.
And it's,
Yeah,
it just
thank that.
seems, it's odd,
Yeah.
right? It's an odd condition to put in.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. It's helpful. And just to clarify, yeah, is it the case that relative to the relief sought, you are not you're looking into a condition relating to offering parking, related to the relief? Is that right?
Yeah, we can't do it at that level where you say
Okay.
park for free, whoever comes in, we are certainly willing to talk to people about overnight parking, but we
Sure,
would
I
work
heard
out a
I heard
license.
you mention that,
Yeah.
but if you're sort of outside the bounds of this hearing, if you do that, I mean
That's
that's
We would like that condition removed.
encouraging to hear.
Yeah, we would like that condition removed.
Okay.
And the drive-through condition, those are the conditions that need to be removed. Or we're requesting to be removed.
Yeah, we'll get to that, the mechanics of modifying that decision. So all right. Let's just turn back to design a little bit. Can you the materials that you have shown us just now about the design on Boylston Street, are these the same latest ones that the planning board saw, or are some of these more recent than that?
The 3D models, if Greg, you put that up, these are new to you. This is what they wanted to see. I will tell you where their concern related.
Sorry, try that again, Bobby. What did the planning board see and what did they not see? And you'll see where I'm going in a minute here. I just want to know.
I'm waiting for Greg to get to his 3D.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
It was that.
They didn't
It's
see
important to note these images are new, but the design basically has not changed.
So that's what I was getting at. So when you were last at the planning board, did they see this, 2-foot 6-inch wide band with the peak in it? Is that where you were with them at your last session?
We basically had the building elevations that I had showed you when my first pass through the drawings, but we really did not have any of the 3D modeling done at that point. And now we've gotten that done, but all that does is reinforce the building elevations that we had previously submitted.
Yeah, if you see that 2D drawing, you'll see that. Did you notice when we showed that 2D drawing that it looked almost pinkish? You couldn't really see the lower drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked us, well, what is it? Is that what it looks like? That doesn't look red to me. And how does that work on the right-hand side? We'd really like to see it in 3D modeling. So we prepared it for you so you could see it, and this is what we'll take back to the ZBA.
Got it. All right, thank you.
The planning board.
That's helpful. Let me turn to my fellow board members. Wadner, do you have any questions about the design presentation we've just seen?
Yes, I do. I would like to know why you guys did not try to mimic the building right next door in terms of the color, the bricks, because this color is kind of appear gray and the glass seems to be tinted a little bit. How is it going to be clear if you from a distance you can look inside clearly to see what's inside, as well as why the gray color instead of mimic the building right next to the mattress space?
Well, that's a good question. We're in the blinds business, right? So what better way to show the how well these blinds work than to have the glass and have blinds on them, and people come in. The way it works is people come in and they look at it and they say, I really like these blinds, and then somebody goes out to their house and installs the blinds. People don't come in and walk out with the blinds. They typically walk around. It's like a showroom, and they look to see what kind of blinds they like, what might work best. So that's typically why they keep the glass there, but it won't be all glass. They'll have the blinds there on the interior.
To be clear, I don't have any problem with the glass. I just the color more like if you look at that angle, you can see from the side of the mattress, you can see the brownish.
Or the glass tinted. I'll let Greg answer. That's above my pay grade. Let me ask.
The glass is not tinted. It will be clear. Basically, getting back to Bob's point, in the shade business, you need to let a lot of natural daylight into the showroom to be able to show the customer how the shades actually work. against natural light. So that's more of a reflection of the rendering. That glass will be clear.
Okay, what about the gray color on the right side going to the corner?
Are you
Is
talking
what kind
about
of-
this facade or this facade?
Yeah,
there.
the facade, yes. Where exactly you put the mouse? Yeah.
Right here?
This,
That
Yep.
is where the sprinkler room currently is. And I did that in an effort, I put a wall there in an effort to hide all of the piping that would be exposed, because that's where the water service
He's talking
tie-in.
about the color,
will be.
Greg. He's talking about the color.
Right, but there's a wall behind it. It's going to be different than the color by going into an open room. There
so
will
this
be,
is all glass, if I understand? This is
Yes.
all glass? Okay,
it's all glass.
okay.
All right. Thanks, Wagner. Other questions?
Nope, that's it.
All right.
Thanks, Wagner.
Jesse?
I have no questions.
All right. Let's see. All right, we talked about the planning board. Let's see, I think I had one question about, can we go back to the photograph, that sort of photograph collage? Greg, if you know the one that I'm talking about.
With the buildings?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that one, if you could sort of blow that up. A little bigger, that's great. Okay, so I'm just looking, just sort of, talking to myself, looking at these pictures. So we left to right, we have Mattress Firm, and then I think it's Kinko's on the next, is the ground level use next door, and then Charles Schwab. There's a lot of glass there. These are all there's a couple of, there's 2 and 3 stories in the middle. The blinds to go is sort of 1 story, as the Charles Schwab is. Fair amount of glass on the front of them. Where I'm looking at this part of the design standards about relation to buildings to the form of streetscape and neighborhood. And I know this is not different from what you're going to be doing with the planning board. What you've written in your design review report.
Yep.
It's interesting. I mean, your design review report doesn't actually mention the glass, but I actually think that one of the notable features of this, what you're changing in the design, is that you are making it a significantly glass facade, where the older bank building had a solid wall and had some French windows. All right, I just wanted to make sure I understood that, and seeing the pictures helps. Let's go to see if we have public comment. Nicole, do we have members of the public who have signed up to speak about the project?
Randolph, just I haven't really hit that 905 standards yet. Typically,
Oh, sorry, you would,
that,
yeah. hang on, Nicole. Yes, you want to give us a zoning argument?
please.
Yep.
Just relative for the reasons I cited before, and for the changes to the prior decision, I would suggest to you that we do meet the standards under 905. The site is appropriate location for the use. Property has been used as commercial for at least 1990, and it's appropriate location for the proposed retail space, which is a use allowed by right in this district. The use will not adversely affect the neighborhood. The proposed change aims to modernize the existing structure to meet 2024 standards and align it with the Blinds to Go brand. The building fronts Boylston Street, a commercial area, and the design updates are focused specifically on the commercial facing portion of the building, while being relatively mild in the back of the building. The residential areas in the rear will not be affected by these changes. The intent to enhance the building's visibility along Boylston Street while minimizing the impact to the neighborhood. There'll be no nuisance or serious hazardous vehicles or pedestrians. We're actually, the biggest concern back in 1990 was the drive-through, as drive-throughs always are in Brookline. And we will be blocking off an entranceway and just be one way in and one way out, and we'll add additional curbing along that street there. So I think that will be helpful to address some of those concerns. Adequate appropriate facilities will be provided. Again, we're voluntarily putting in the EV station. There'll be no effect on the supply on housing available to low or moderate income people. So I suggest we do meet the standards under 905. I know that the town doesn't like to see empty buildings. This building's been empty for far too long, and we're very excited, and Blinds to Go is very excited about coming in here. I know they'll be a good member of this community.
All right, thank you. All caught up now, and we'll, let me go back to you, Nicole. Anyone from the public signed up to speak?
No one signed up, and I'll just remind people, if you do want to speak, please raise your hand. This is your opportunity to give comment on this case.
I'm going to give that just a minute.
See anyone? You want to give another minute, or
All right.
ready for planning board?
No, I think we will go on to the planning department and the planning board, if you would.
Great. So good evening. I'm Nicole Prey, the zoning coordinator for the town of Brookline. Planning staff has no objection to the conversion of this building to a bank, to a Blinds to Go retail store. The planning board voted 3-1 to recommend approval of the facade alterations, although one member did not like the red trim panel of the front facade. There was no objection to the conversion from bank to retail store. Regarding the overnight parking and modification of prior decision conditions, the planning board leaves the issue up to the zoning board of appeals to decide, since the planning board was not certain whether or not those requirements were legal to require on private property. So therefore, the planning board recommends approval of the site plan by JCG dated November 8th, 2024, and the architectural plans by Lincoln Architects dated November 6th, 2024, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall electronically submit final floor plans and elevations stamped and signed by a registered architect, and signage plans and a final site plan stamped and signed by a registered engineer or land surveyor to the planning board for review and approval. Number 2, the owner shall be required to install 2 EV parking spaces. And number 3, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall electronically submit to the building commissioner for review and approval the site plan, floor plans, and elevations displaying the approval stamp of the Director for Regulatory Planning and evidence the Board of Appeals decision was obtained by the applicant or representative and recorded at the Registry of Deeds. And then I have a memo here. Yes.
Okay, let me just have just a question about that first condition, which, and my understanding is the applicant has already consented to this condition about returning to the planning board. If the ZBA closes this hearing and goes back to the planning board, is a subsequent planning board action then just communicated to the building department? Is that what happens to it before the permit is granted?
Yes, typically
it doesn't come back to us, right?
No, Polly would stamp off after it's reviewed by planning board.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, you were going to go on to the building department.
Yes. So I have a memo here from Paul R. Campbell, Deputy Building Commissioner, and regarding 1228 Boylston Street, Zoning Board of Appeals permit number 2024-00043. The building department has no objection to the requested relief and will work with the petitioner to ensure compliance with the zoning bylaw, board decisions, conditions, and applicable codes.
All right, thank you. Actually, can we have Greg, could you take down the screen share, please? Any questions from members of the board about the last couple of things, the department reports and the business for the planning board?
I just have a questions.
Yes, Wadner.
We did not address the parking the parking condition, whether the board can actually modify it or leave it the way it is. If I don't know.
Yeah, we will be deliberating in just a moment here, Wadner, I think. But that was, related to that. That was why I did ask the applicant to report on the parking situation and understand that they were. If I hope I'm not putting words in his mouth, but to detach it from the request for relief. But before we go to deliberation, do you have any other questions for the applicant about that?
Well, I understand the applicant raised the issue with it, so in terms of the Supreme Court cases, but I do understand that the board has the authority to add conditions. So the question is whether, what kind of conditions the board can attach to a special permit.
I can address that briefly. I can just tell you what the court said. What the court said, that there has to be an essential nexus and rough proportionality between the condition and the likely impact of the land use. So my argument would be, we're not doing anything to take up overnight parking. The issue before was they're opening up curb spaces and therefore limiting the number of parking spaces on the street. The issue now is we're changing use. We're actually giving back a curb space and not doing anything to impact overnight parking. You know, it's the town that chooses not to have overnight parking, not the private owner. So then I don't see a nexus or any rough proportionality between what we're requesting and sort of allowing overnight parking for free on somebody's private parking lot. I think that's the issue. I think it's pretty clear, to be honest, but
Bob,
yes.
I would make the argument, and I'm not giving you my deliberation
I understand.
portion yet. I would make the argument that you would be correct if what was going on here was the board was imposing this as a condition.
Mhm.
That's not what is going on. What's going on is this is a condition that was imposed 34 years ago, and you have affirmatively come in with a request to waive the condition. That's very different than what that case is arguing for.
Well,
We're not imposing this condition.
I
It
get it.
exists. The
Right.
question is whether there is an adequate reason for the board to make a determination that there's no longer a compelling reason for the condition.
Yeah.
That's very different.
I understand that. I will tell you that this case came out after the conditions were imposed, so that could put a little bit of something into your argument. But I would also suggest to you, life is a lot different than 1990 relative to liability and other things. We don't even know who's parking there, right? I mean,
That's
certainly we all understand. Even the town in their public parking lots charge people, get their names, make them sign a document. We have nothing. It's just saying, hey, park wherever you want, whenever you want, right? So
I'm not sure that original. I agree with you.
yes.
Okay. From a standpoint of somebody who, as you've noted, somebody who does a lot of leasing,
Yes.
both sides, I totally agree with you. It's untenable.
Right.
I'm not sure that original 1990 decision limits the ability of whoever is utilizing the permit, right? The special permit, that they are restricted from imposing reasonable regulations such as registration, evidence of insurance, things like that. So while I agree with you, it's just that it appears whomever was operating the space never imposed what I think of would have been very reasonable regulations within the condition.
Yeah, I think the condition was written a little bit too open, right?
Yeah. So
Bobby, could you fill in another related piece of information, because you mentioned the hours of operations of the Blinds to Go business. What are the hours? Or what would they be?
I want to say they close at 7:30 at night. Janet, I have that right? I have it here, but I can't put my finger on it. Or Bob?
10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay. Widener, thanks for raising that question, and Jesse for jumping in. Jesse, any further questions before we go to deliberation?
I don't. I'll address any further comments or questions within deliberation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's go there now. And let's see. So we've had materials presented about design review because of this building's location on Boylston Street. We've heard the applicant's statement about how they think the special permit conditions are met. And I think we have coming some, at least I have some questions, Jesse. I hope you don't mind. Some of the mechanics of modifying this prior decision. Yeah, would you like to start, Jesse, on design review and then go to wherever you
Sure.
want to go next?
So they've, sure, thank you, Randolph. So I really, from the perspective of design review, I think this is, it's really not problematic. It's a fairly simple case. The zoning relief, in my mind, is minimal. They've submitted the appropriate affidavit with how it meets the requirements or the conditions. And an argument's been made under section 9.05. And I think for the reasons stated, it meets the requirements under 905. For me, really, the question, and the key part is question, is about the parking and the request to modify the original decision, which is within the power of the board. The reasons cited by Mr. Allen are excellent reasons. They're the right reasons. Frankly, I can't believe it's taken this long for whomever controls this property to raise this, because they're crazy. To just let people park on an open parking lot like this is asking to be sued. So I'm very sensitive to the request. The gap here, and I don't, and again, I don't know what that decision says and how it would apply to if they were coming in today and we were having a discussion about imposing the condition. That's not the case here. So I'm not really worried about that case. The only gap here, from my perspective, is I have absolutely no idea. Bob has said there were 5 or 6 vehicles parking there. I have no idea, and I think Bob probably doesn't know either. I have no idea what the demand is for this. The demand may be nobody needs it. The answer may be that there are more people out there than we think. I just don't know the answer to the extent that the purpose of the original decision was to alleviate the loss of parking that might otherwise have been on Holly Lane.
Because of new curb cuts?
Because of new curb cuts.
Or one of which is now going away.
Or because you were now putting in I don't know what the predecessor use to the bank was. Was this originally a sovereign bank before Santander?
That is correct.
Bank of America, I think.
No,
I don't think so. I think it was
sovereign. Yeah. So it was laid off with all the other sovereign assets.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. So,
I mean, what I don't know is how impactful that use was on on-street parking and how that filtered into the decision. That decision doesn't give us a clue about that thought process. My point is, I don't know what the actual need for this overnight parking is, if at all. If there is no need for it, I have absolutely no desire to continue to impose this on this tenant, subtenant, whatever this party is.
Jesse, are you willing to look at the relatively low level of activity and the applicant statements about the 24 parking and the time that has gone by since 1990 are you ready to consider that evidence of relatively lower demand now than in the past?
I think Bob has said he drove by 3 times and he saw 5 to 6 cars there. That's the testimony we have. They haven't done counts over a period of time. They haven't, they're not coming in with some definitive information that tells us of a demand. Now, I will tell you that there's nobody here from the neighborhood. And as we know from some other cases, it's not like this is a neighborhood that ducks these hearings. If they're concerned, they show up. But again, I'm operating in a void. So I guess I could take it on faith and say we'll modify the decision. I could equally just say, listen, here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to modify that decision by allowing you to impose reasonable regulations so that you can control issues like liability, knowing who's parking there. I'm even willing to say that if you start doing counts, once you open up, if you start doing overnight counts on a periodic basis and you come back to us and you give us an affidavit that nobody's really using it or it's a de minimis usage, then I'm willing to waive the condition. I'll do it anyway. I'm not looking to impose this on a continuous basis on this applicant if it is without value. I just don't know the answer.
Yeah, what's your view about? Sorry, this is another hypothesis, but we've heard a report on the relatively low level of use. The change of businesses, even residents change in the neighborhood. Some of them, maybe there's a relatively low level of knowledge that this is available. I don't feel personally that we ought to require the applicant to re-advertise it, make it known, to stimulate demand. In other words.
I want to know if anybody, I'm not asking them to put up a giant flag and wave it and say, park here. I just want to know, is it being used?
Okay.
It sounds like it's not. Sounds like it's not.
And I'm going to know, we had no public comment. The planning board report, which is, right there in the packet, has a couple of paragraphs relating to the parking space question. And that brought nobody out.
Excuse me, just to be clear, a woman showed up at the planning board, jumped on Zoom at the planning board to said that when her father comes up to visit, he parks in the lot. So I just want to be clear for the record, that was one person that came up. And the only person that responded to my pamphlet that I gave out to the same people, 3 different occasions, was a woman who does park there at nighttime. And she acknowledged that there's a couple cars that park there 24/7. But she is somebody we will work with. And
yeah,
I would love to find a condition that puts it on me or in this case, the applicant, to work with the neighborhood to see if what is the need. I know it's a little bit fluffy, but
I'd be fine with that, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna kill somebody, and if they can't find a spot, we're happy to work with them. We just need to know who it is. We need them out of there at certain time, and we need to say this condition says 25 spaces. Right, that's pretty much all our spaces. We need a little van to get in there to make some deliveries. We need to say, here's your spots over here. This is where you need to be. You park in 1, you park in 2. That type, typical.
I would find it hard to believe that there's demand for 25 spaces.
Oh God.
So,
All right. Okay,
Sorry.
thank you, Bobby. Let us get back into deliberating, and let's see if we can get through this. Jesse, other questions before I go to Wadner or comments?
That's it.
Okay, Wadner, what are your thoughts?
Subject to that, I'm in favor of granting the relief.
Subject to this other possible condition also?
Subject to all of that, I'm in favor of granting the relief.
In favor. All right, thank you. Wadner, your thoughts?
Basically, I agree with pretty much what's already been discussed. I would like to, if the applicant will agree to put some signs, say after certain hours, you cannot park there, and then if you park there, the liability, they're not responsible. Those things can actually, the notice to the whoever parked there can actually help to see whether there's a demand for it, or whether individual is parking after hours. So I don't know how the board can actually put those little nugget on a way that we don't, because I know in Brookline there's like you cannot park on the, I don't know if that area is the same. You cannot park on the street overnight. So that's one of the little concern. I don't know if that area is the allowed parking
Well,
overnight on the streets.
Wadner, if you heard, I think the operative word that we may have heard from the applicant side is fluffy, which in the area of conditions, I think it sounds to me like the opposite direction of or from specifying the terms as if we were writing a lease in one of our conditioned items, which I think we would be advised not to do. Maybe there are words like encourage in it, but let me just ask you: did you agree with Jesse about the basic relief in the bylaw, and you sound interested in this other possible parking condition?
No, basically I agree. And the only, concern that I think we both, we don't know exactly whether there was a demand or not. It may be changed. We don't actually have beside the statement from the applicant representative, so we don't know. I'm happy if we can come in with some condition that not require, or if the applicant will agree to certain where that we don't fully take away that condition until we have, if the applicant will come in back, if it's not needed, it's no longer necessary, can actually come in back to the board with some information to remove that condition.
Well, Wadner, you two are the lawyers and not me, but I'm going to try this anyway. I mean, how would you feel about a condition that says, something along the lines of, the applicant is strongly encouraged to investigate the demand for overnight parking, make reasonable arrangements for. I think we have to put a number on it, up to 10 or up to 10 or 12 spaces for near neighborhood residents or something like that.
I will defer to JC, but I think that's something that it seems reasonable to me in terms of.
Jesse, can we write a condition like that with the word encourage in it, or is it not? Is it not appropriate language?
I don't know what purpose that would serve. I think what the applicant's looking for is a modification of the condition. Frankly, what they're looking for is the full removal of it.
Yes.
Do you have a suggestion of middling language that addresses the concern and is broad brushstroke enough that you're comfortable with?
Yeah, I'm fine with broad. I was thinking more, I liked where Randolph was going, and then I think it died out at the end, but I was thinking something along the applicant will take steps necessary to make, to notify existing parkers and to find reasonable overnight parking solutions, including
That match
overnight parking.
demand.
Yes, that match demand. That's good. That's good. Because
I would add,
it was
Bob,
the same 6 cars 3 times, right? And I went 3 different months. So it's.
Do you want clarifying language that the applicant may impose reasonable requirements for parkers?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that should be in there. And I don't know if you want to put whether it's poly or something that that I notify her, or I don't, you know, just so I'm telling, it can be Nicole, I don't care. Somebody,
No, make it, yeah, make
Polly.
it subject to review and approval of, the Director of Regulatory Planning.
perfect.
Mhm.
Standard language.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Jesse,
Yeah.
do terms include money changing hands or no? Because the original decision says free of charge.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? It's not fair to make this applicant run a public parking lot
I agree.
for free.
Oh, and the town doesn't even run a public parking lot.
Well, then if you say terms, if terms would allow them to charge money if they choose to, then I would be happier with that.
Yeah, I don't, they may do that as well, and I would modify the decision to that extent as well.
All right. I think we've got enough. I'm sorry if I have a little unstable condition here.
With yourself or with your computer? Sorry.
All right. I'm good. I'll try to keep it brief here. I agree with my colleagues on the findings about design review. I think we have seen adequate materials for speaking for myself, for me to have an opinion about the relation of this building to the streetscape and so on. Still, I appreciate the condition about sending it back to the planning board for a last look. I agree that the 905 conditions for special permit have been met, and with I think enough language in the works for the modification of the condition about parking, we have a unanimous decision, and thank you for your presentation and everyone for attending.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate the time you put into it.
All right.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, folks. Turning the page, our next case is number 2024 -00052. This concerns property at 1249 Beacon Street, where the proposed project is to convert an existing commercial basement unit to a residential unit. After completion of the proposed construction, this building would contain 3 commercial units and 5 residential units. There are no exterior changes proposed. Who is here as the applicant or on the applicant's behalf?
I am, Mr. Chair.
All right, Mr. Allen, will you waive the reading of the public notice?
I will.
Thank you. Please tell the board about the request for relief.
Sure. Again, for the record, Robert Allen, 300 Washington Street, representing Nora LLC, the owner of the property. I am here by myself tonight. I don't have an architect, but I'm not sure one's needed because there's 0 exterior changes on this building. Everything is just interior. Basically, they're taking a dentist office that's been vacant almost since post-COVID and converting it to much needed residential housing. Actually making it more in compliance with the bylaw, because this is an M2 zoning district. 1249 Beacon is an M2 zoning district, which is mixed residential, multifamily residential. So there is no commercial use supposed to be allowed. So we're making this more conforming than it is. The current building has 4 residential units and 4 commercial units. This proposal would convert 1 garden level commercial unit previously used as a dentist office into a garden level residential for a mix of 5 residential and 3 commercial units, which means that we actually have to be here also for an affordable housing payment, because the number is now 4. The property, as you know, is about 280 feet away from the St. Paul T-stop. The property is also well served by it's in Coolidge Corner, so it's great walking distance. We also have to waive a parking space. Arguably, this is the area where you want to waive a parking space. There's no parking at this building. The conversion triggers the 2 special permits. First, the affordable housing, and second, a waiver of 1 parking space. I don't have an architect here. I could pull up the plans, but I'm not sure if it's necessary, Randolph, but certainly it's up to your discretion.
Yeah, I'm with you, but let me just ask Jesse and Wadner, do any of you need to see the building plans, which we've received in the packet?
I do not.
Do not, Wadner?
I do not.
All right, Thanks, Bob. You want to go talk about the relief?
Sure. You know, the relief is just as I said, 408, which is affordable housing and waiving a parking spot. And as I said, I don't think a parking is necessary here because of the proximity to the T and proximity to everything you need, including a supermarket, practically right next door. So I did talk to Nicole earlier. There was one typo in the condition relative to the affordable housing. I think it was 6C that used the word shall when it should be excuse me, it's condition 2B. That says the applicant shall. It's actually, the guideline says the applicant should notify. But other than that, I'm fine with the affordable housing condition. I would certainly waive her having to read it into the record and accept that as a condition. I do believe under a special permit standard 9.05 that the petitioner meets the following standards for grant of requested special permit. The site is appropriate location. It's a multifamily residential use, and we're creating making it more of a multifamily building. The use will not adversely affect the neighborhood. There's zero exterior changes proposed, and the residential use is more appropriate. As I said, no nuisance or serious hazard of vehicles or pedestrians. You waive that parking requirement, we don't have to worry about vehicles. Adequate appropriate facilities will be provided, and the development will not have any, actually will have a positive effect for the affordable housing because we will be making a payment to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I will tell you that the planning board's main focus was outside their scope, which was interior. They wanted to redesign the bedrooms and everything else, but that's what we spend most of the time talking about at the planning board. But again, not relevant for this conversation. So
Right.
I think this is straightforward, exactly what we want in this town.
Yeah, let me just ask you while I have you on. There's the planning department report also cites 802 for alteration and extension. You said this was a dentist's office. Is the area of the dentist's office identical to the area of the proposed dwelling unit, or is there a little change there?
There's a little bit of a change just in the entranceway there. Yeah,
is that what's triggering the alteration?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And Randolph, they cite that.
But with
802 is cited in every single case, always.
Yep. Okay. Well, we have a lot of existing buildings, so
yeah, I know.
All right. Questions from members of the board at this point? Jesse?
None.
Wadner?
I don't have any.
All right. Nicole, do we have any members of the public who signed up to speak?
No, we do not, but I will remind folks that if you want to speak on this case, this is your opportunity. I don't see anyone.
Okay.
Move to the planning board report.
I would even if they want to jump in after you start, I would go ahead into the planning department and planning board reports.
Okay, great. So, oops, I lost my place here. Sorry. So, staff has no issues with this conversion of office space to residential. Will increase the housing supply in a well-served area of Brookline. The planning board had no issue with the proposal, but did want more information in order to assess if there was adequate light, ceiling height, and overall habitability of the basement unit. The planning board voted unanimously to recommend approval, subject to the following conditions: that the board approve the site plan and architectural plans by Nowlin Ministry PE dated September 16th, 2024, subject to the following conditions. Number one, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall electronically submit final floor plans and elevations stamped and signed by a registered architect to the director for regulatory planning or designee for review and approval. And then 2A through 2D is related to the affordable housing requirements, which Bob has agreed to, and I don't need to read. Number three, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall electronically submit to the building commissioner for review and approval a floor plan, elevations displaying the stamp of approval of the director for regulatory planning or designee, and evidence the Board of Appeals decision was obtained from the town clerks by the applicant or representative and recorded at the registry of deeds. And we're fine with changing that to B to
shall
say
to should.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was the only. Thank you for not reading that part, and I glad to have that confirmed. And you have a report from the building department?
I do. So I have a memo here from Paul R. Campbell, Deputy Building Commissioner, dated today. And he writes regarding 1249 Beacon Street, zoning permit number 2024-00052. The building department has no objection to the requested relief and will work with the petitioner to ensure compliance with the zoning bylaw. decision and applicable codes. He also writes that compliance with state building code in regards to the means of egress, light, ventilation, fire, and life safety will be reviewed at the time of the permit application.
All right. Bobby, any questions from the applicant side after that planning and building report?
Nothing.
No, you're all set. Okay.
Thank you.
I think, and members, any questions, or if not, we can go right into deliberation on this one. Okay. Maybe I'll start on this one. We had a pretty good summary of the relief, request for relief from the applicant. Affordable housing is triggered, and they've, as the conditions indicate, they've proposed a cash payment to comply with that. Design review is triggered because of 4 or more units, but nothing is changing in the outside. The parking, a parking space that would be required because of the additional unit, we can waive because of the availability of transit. And I think the 905 conditions for granting that special permit have been met. And we heard the applicants, the description of the very minor change that triggers the alteration, which, sorry, bear with me, I'm just going to check because I want to make sure I'm doing this right. But that is Jesse, sorry, can I just ask you on this one, is when 802 is triggered, is it just special permit relief that
Yes.
or yes, okay. All right. Then that's what it is, and we've already, and as I said, I'm in favor of the that along with all the other items of relief requested because the special permit conditions have been met. Widener, your thoughts?
I'm in favor of relief as well. I don't have any additional comment.
Thank you. Jesse?
It meets the requirements under 509 as well as under section 905 for the reasons stated into the record. With respect in particular to the parking waiver, it is very proximate to glacially slow public transit, but it is public transit. So I'm in favor of granting the relief.
But soon with no slow zones. But thank you. That it is a unanimous grant of approval subject to the conditions as read into the record.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you all.
Not to be difficult, Randolph, there's one slow zone. It's the entire length of the ride.
Yes. Well, soon we'll have the bridle path back as a, on the same route. So that'll, as a, you'll have choice.
Yeah.
Our next case, sorry, let me get that somewhere else. Our next case, number 2024-000047. This concerns property at 107 University Road. And this is, Nicole, you and I talked about this. I have just a couple of notes. It's an extension of time request. It was put in the agenda, just so folks know, so we have to talk about it in the meeting, but the board's action is no longer required because of action taken by the governor to allow automatic extensions on all land use in effect during a tolling period of January 1st, 2023 to 2025. And the relief, this board's decision was in late November 2023. And the information was received by town staff after the public notice for this hearing had already appeared in the Boston Herald. Now, Nicole, I believe you communicated to me separately today that the applicant was out of the country, but you had received their statement you're going to read into the record.
Yes, and just one point of clarification, the original case number is 2023-0047. I think you said 2024.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. Yep, thank you.
No worries. So I do have a email here. The applicant Chris Kokoras, he's out of the country. He writes that regarding case 2023-0047, 107 University Ave, he wants to withdraw his request in lieu of the state act in order to receive the 2-year extension rather than a 1-year extension. And there was a memo from town council that was included in the meeting packet for anyone that's curious.
All right. Thank you. So no hearing, no action by this board on that item. And we
To
will,
withdraw,
Well,
he
we
needs
have to withdraw.
permission from the chair to withdraw.
Yes.
sorry, was that in his message that he made a request to withdraw?
Yeah, so it specifically said he requests to withdraw.
He wants the
Okay.
longer time period by the state's statute, and there's
Which
some
would give
question
him-
about if he comes in and he gets granted our extension, whether he has restricted himself.
Got it. Okay, but Jesse, our action is to set aside his request or to reject his request, or what's
He
what are we
needs
doing?
your approval to withdraw.
Okay. We don't need to vote that? I can just take that action as chair?
I mean, I take a vote, but
Yeah.
the regulations provide that the chair has the authority.
Okay. As chair, for the record, I'm just going to say that sorry, I lost the verb again. I accept his request to withdraw the application for a time extension.
Great.
Okay, thank you. On we go. The last case this evening, number 2024-000050. This concerns property at 60 Lyman Road, where the project is to construct a new single-family dwelling. Now, who is here as the applicant or on behalf of the applicant?
I am, but some reason they won't let me on the screen.
Oh, all right,
Sorry.
we'll give that a moment, Mr. Allen.
Mr. Allen.
While we're waiting for that, we can at least hear you. Will you waive a reading of the public notice?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. All right, we see you
There I am.
now.
Yep.
Good evening,
All right.
Mr. Allen,
Good
Mr.
evening,
Jeffrey
everybody.
Allen, for the record. Please tell the board about the project and your request for relief.
Okay, this is a new house on Lyman Road on a lot that is a fairly large lot. It's in an S25 zone. And it's before you for two items of relief. It's a 30,815 square foot lot. And the proposal is to build a single family home there with a 3,820 square foot unfinished basement. Under our bylaws, 1,887 square feet of the basement may be converted to habitable space pursuant to section 5.22. Because of that, it triggers design review, and that is the primary relief. It's also needs relief for a front yard projection, because under our bylaw, if there's a projection that is greater than 3.5 feet into the front yard, it needs a special permit. The porch on the front of the front area, and our architect will point out to you, actually protrudes 5 feet into the front yard, but still has a sizable setback from the street. The house is set back 55.8 feet from Lyman Road, where the front yard setback is required to be 30 feet. So this projection really will have no effect. In fact, the planning board was puzzled by the zoning relief. They went right to the zoning book and they said, well, the building department was correct that the definition of front yard contains not just the required setback, but anything in front of the house. So it does need 5.43 relief. Our architect is here and he'll go over the design. We have a unanimous planning board that supported us in one meeting before them. Lyman Road is a cul-de-sac. This house is consistent with the houses in that neighborhood. And as I said, the planning department thought that the planning department and the planning board then agreed that this is an appropriate house given the size and manner of that neighborhood, and it fits in beautifully. The only controversy we have, and I will defer to the chair when you want me to address it, is regarding a condition proposed by the planning department that was never proposed before the planning board, and birth was given to it yesterday or the day before. We'd like to be heard on it. We think we have an alternate suggestion for the condition, but I'm at your desire when you want me to address the condition, sir.
For now, just tell me the subject of the condition you're speaking about.
Condition 4, exterior lighting.
Thank
It
you.
attempts to, in our view, implicate a zoning relief that was rejected by town meeting.
Yeah, thank you. That's fine for now. I just wanted to make sure I knew what topic you were on. We will come around to it.
Okay, I'd like to take this moment to if it's okay, unless anybody has questions of me about the zoning relief, I thought I'd introduce the architect, Mike McKay, at this point.
Yes, that's great. Let me just say on the way into that, I would like the board to see a presentation of the design. The materials that we received in the packet, in my opinion, don't go very far in an important area of the design review, which I hope you have more materials about, particularly with respect to the comparison of the proposed building to massing scale, footprint, et cetera, of adjoining properties. We had quite a lot of drawings of this house just sort of standing on its own, and it would be quite helpful to see its site plan and, surrounded by the other houses in this cul-de-sac.
Michael?
Yeah. Michael McKay, I'm the project architect. Nicole, can I share the screen, please?
You should be able to share.
Great. Okay. The first drawing is the site plan. Lyman Road is on the north side of the street, of the sheet, I'm sorry. North arrow is on that left side. The house, as Jeffrey mentioned, is set back considerably from Lyman Road, but that projection, that special permit, which I was not aware of until we went to the planning board, that it needed relief for the porch. I can show you that. In terms of context, I was not aware that we needed to provide more context for this meeting tonight. So this is our only site plan that we have available, is the site plan showing the existing the proposed structure. I'll just go through the design quickly, but this is the only context drawing. Again, this is the landscape drawing that was presented and approved. There were some comments that the planning board had in terms of windows and maybe supplementing landscaping, but it was agreed that we could provide that to the planning staff for review after we went through this process. So this is the landscape drawing. It is a side-loaded 3-car garage. Again, set back considerably from Lyman. The dotted line on this north side is the setback line, but we're probably 30 feet beyond that. 25 feet, I'm sorry. A majority of the trees in the back of the site are remaining. There are additional privacy trees on both sides of the site that are being proposed. This is just a basement drawing. This is what the purpose of the meeting is. It's a large basement, but it just gives us the opportunity to build it. The house, this is a house that we've designed for an end user. It's not a spec house like some of the other homes that we've done. This has a client, so it's a very specific use and design. But that porch that projects is this piece right here that projects 5 feet instead of 3.
3.5. 3.5 is allowed.
3.5 is allowed. And I wasn't aware of that requirement. I've done many homes in Brookline and I wasn't aware of it. So it's it's not that big a deal to, but we just wanted a good coverage for the weather, that's all. Second floor, and the design of the house is a sort of a French, chateau influenced, stone on the first level, and there would be stucco on the upper floor, on the second floor, and the attic space is all trussed and not used for occupancy. Just all four elevations. This is the rear elevation, some large patios, and a 3-car side loaded garage. And I don't know why I have that floor plan again, but I do. So,
I would say both the size and the siting of this house is consistent with the entire street. And they're large houses in middle of lots, and this is a vacant lot that was subdivided off a bigger lot.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Allen. We're going to try to look at that, try to get a visual to go with your statement about the neighborhood. Nicole, if you can get ready to share the assessor's map graphic, not just yet, but the assessor's map graphic from the planning department report that may give us a little context for Mr. Allen's statement about the comparison of this building's footprint to other footprints on adjacent lots. I hope that will help us see it. Let's see. A couple questions for the architect. While we have the site plan up here, is the counterbalancing amenity proposed for the additionally projecting front porch coming in the form of landscaping? And if it is, can you point to it?
The landscaping you're seeing here is not final because we've agreed to submit a landscaping plan for approval of the Director of Regulatory Planning, and will incorporate the counterbalancing amenity for the 1.5 foot intrusion into the front yard. But we intend to screen on both sides of the lot to both of our neighbors, as you see. So this is our proposed plan, but it will go under some alteration and modification with the input from Ms. Selko.
Yeah, I understand that. I would just like to hear from you on the record whether some part of this landscaping is your proposal for a counterbalancing
Yes.
amenity. I think that's what you thank you. Is that what you are saying?
Yes.
All right. Another question. Could you go back to the basement plan, Mr. McCain? Show us the area. Mr. Allen mentioned the 1,887 square feet of the basement. Is that an area that is located, or is it just square footage that could be anywhere in the basement?
It's just the square footage that could be anywhere in the basement. There's a bunch of possibilities, and since it's 10 years in the future, we haven't designated it, but under the bylaw, we're required to designate the amount of the square footage, and that must be put into the decision.
Mm-hmm. Just while we're talking about it, I know this neighborhood generally. It's a little hilly, but the building drawings look like they're showing us a building that's sitting on a flattened site, so that there don't seem to be any opportunities for example, future windows in the basement, which is something that that might guide you as to the location of where you would put this future expansion space. Is that right? That all the basement is just unexposed all around the house?
That was one of the items that was discussed at the planning board, was for us to identify window locations in the basement. Again, we haven't done that because we wanted feedback from this board before we designated that. But there will be some small basement windows. There will be no egress wells. We have a bulkhead proposed, so it's no large windows for the basement, just conventional basement windows. But they would be none in the front. I can tell that would be because we have ground covering landscaping, but potentially on the right side, there would be one under this decorative bay, but that's our anticipated location.
All right. Thank you. Let me turn to other members of the board. If you would just keep the drawings up for a minute.
Sure.
Jesse, any questions about the design?
None.
Wadner. Wadner, is your audio on? Do you have questions for the architect? Wadner looks a little frozen. Can you tell, Nicole?
Yes, he's frozen.
Yes, he looked frozen to me.
Okay, let's,
there he is.
oh, Wadner,
That
you
was moving.
unfroze. I want to know if you had questions for the architect.
Yes, I do. I have any of you reach out to the neighbors in terms of the construction regarding street lighting, other type of evergreen trees, anything like that, trying to mimic the neighborhoods, how the other house similar to that look in terms of the facade of the house coming, look at it from the street.
We have, we've had some neighborhood input on other items. For instance, this is a private way. The neighbors were concerned that they paid some money for street repairs. We've talked to the neighbors that we would be responsible for any damage we may cause. But as I said, it's on such a large lot, it will not, and it's so far off the street. It's over 55 feet away from the street. So we don't believe we'll have any impact, and no neighbors have had any concerns about that, sorry.
But are you gonna, when the construction's are you guys gonna bring any heavy construction vehicles that may damage the private road?
We don't expect to. We're gonna take all the steps necessary to preserve those trees. They're important to us, and as you notice, in the rear of the lot, there are trees that are all gonna stay and be protected. So we have an arborist, we have a landscape architect, and we are gonna take all steps to protect those trees. And should anything occur, we certainly would replace them. They're an important part of the design.
Okay, in the planning board report, there are a number of concerns that they point out to the applicant in terms of internal access, alignment of the windows, better integrating with the architectural design, and the question regarding the repair of any damage to the private road. Have the applicant taken any step to kind of to address those concerns by the planning board?
Michael, can you explain? I think we've agreed to align some windows and so show them that.
Yes,
Michael?
I think the items that we agreed at the planning board, and part of it may be a response to the comments made at the meeting from neighbors, would the landscape architect, Mark Cirillo, will supplement this plan with additional trees and possibly change some of the species of the tree, and that would be with discussion with planning board staff. In terms of the windows, it's some simple alignment of windows that we'll do at the development of the drawings. It's I think, if I can show you some of the items that, the front is very much in order. When you get to the side, there may be, some windows aren't quite like this one. We may push it over to here and center this one between. The plan really was dictating some of the things that happened in the side and the rear, and we will align those and, meet with staff and make sure that, I think it was approved with staff, based on staff approval. But it's minor, very minor items, like in the back, having this, having some order created a little bit more than what we're showing. It's very, very simple fixes.
Okay, in terms of internal access, can you put the first floor plan up? I have a few questions. if you look at the dining home, you see the kitchen.
Wadner, where are you going with the dining room and kitchen questions relative to this request for relief?
Oh, are we, does the design, we're not,
I think that was a question that was brought up, and this is the client.
Michael, just let the chair.
Okay, I'm sorry. I will.
No, Wadner, I
Because-
know that was in the planning board report. But you know, there are a number of sections under the bylaw where relief is requested. They don't really have to do with the plan of the first floor. We have a little bit of inside space for that future basement expansion. Everything else seems to be outdoors. So I wonder whether you would just consider leaving that one with planning.
or even though it wasn't the report, that's one of the concern in terms of internal access?
Do you want to try and explain to me why internal access relates to what this board is working on this evening?
Well, it is one of the conditions that they lay out. So if it's presented, I believe the board, if it's part of design review, I think we should at least.
I don't think it is in design review, and it's not in the conditions. So I guess I would do you have other questions? Because I have something I'd like to take up with Mr. Allen.
That's fine. So
All right, thanks, Wadner. Mr. McKay, can you take us back to the site plan for just a minute? And this, so here, Mr. Allen, this is about this aspect of design review, you know, relation of the building and its footprint and so on to the others in the neighborhood. This is a pretty clear drawing of the proposal. Nicole, can you take over and share that other drawing? I think you seem to know which one I was interested in, and it was an assessor plan graphic from the planning department report that showed the lot and then the existing building on it. Yeah, thank you for pointing to it. So
There is no existing
Yep.
building.
well, whatever that, never mind that little rectangle. But Mr. Allen, could you take it from here and just talk about some of the adjoining properties on Lyman Road and compare your proposed project to some of them using
Sure.
this drawing?
Let me just this would be single tree here. I know that this is, can we bring it down a little bit, Nicole? Yeah, keep going. Lyman Road backs, this is the neighborhood I grew up in, so I know it well. And this,
Nicole, just keep your cursor on the subject lot.
Can I do
Thank
it?
you.
you can't see my cursor? Could you
This
just,
is Nick. We got it. We're all set. Carry on, Mr. Allen.
okay. So as you can see, Lyman Road is large lots with single-family houses of a large size. I'm not sure what that structure is on our lot. I thought that
All right.
lot,
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
yeah. But as you can see, the house, if you look down to the right, is 50 Lyman is a large house. Across the street is a large house. Next, all three across the street are large houses. 70 is a large house. They're all large houses, and this house will be consistent with it and will be, as I said, well back, actually more back from the street than our neighbors, because we moved it off the street. It backs up to, as you can see, to Singletree and Cabot, and which are also large lots in Heath Street.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Allen. That's very helpful. And please feel free to use these assessors maps if you ever need a graphic for a board presentation. I can tell you they're very familiar to us, and they help us understand the context for proposals. Could I just take you back to one point you raised about a condition
Yes.
relative to lighting? And I may ask you to jump in here, Nicole, because there was some edits to the draft conditions about this.
And I'm not sure I have the last version, Nicole, so if you want to read what the last version, I know I proposed a condition. I'm not sure what happened to that.
Your proposed condition was added to the draft.
Okay, so if the words glare or glare shines is taken off, we're comfortable with the condition.
I will tell you, just to get clear on the language, because I have an earlier version struck out in front of me. Can you just read it, Nicole, what the language as it's drafted, and that, as I understand, the applicant has agreed to?
I can put it on the screen if that's helpful.
Oh, even better.
So that's number 4.
Yeah, we're in agreement with that.
All right, thank you.
Nicole.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Allen. That's great. We're gonna turn to public comment now. On the way in, I will note that we have received and reviewed written public comment. Thanks for that, folks. It's always helpful. That came from Richard Nangle, Deborah Schwartz, and Kathy Lurie.
Can I just say one thing on that before you go to it, Mr. Chairman?
I suppose so.
Our zoning bylaw does not contain any restrictions on lighting. And in fact, there was a request to do that and it didn't pass town meeting. Lighting is critical.
Yeah, Mr. Allen, we're going on to public comment.
Okay, all right,
I don't think we are. I don't think there's any disagreement there.
Okay.
Public comment, Nicole. Has anyone signed up to speak in favor?
No, no one's in favor.
All right. Do we have members of the public who would like to speak in opposition?
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, yes. Hang on, Nicole. Yes, Jesse.
Just a point of order. So as it is commonly stated in these hearings, we obviously have materials that have been submitted for public record. As you've noted, there are several pieces of written testimony that have been submitted. And anyone who wishes to offer testimony need not reread into the record those materials. We're certainly interested in any new information people have, but it's certainly not necessary to provide us with the same information that's been already submitted.
That's a very essential element I'm going to put in my now a full member chair script, which you've been very generous about in the past, and the good stuff just keeps coming. So thank you for that. And
Sure.
You heard what the other occasional chair has said. That's was directed, of course, to anyone who may speak. We would like to hear your comments. Nicole, who is signed to speak first?
Do you have one individual that wants to speak in opposition, Richard Nangle?
Mr. Nangle. And Mr. Nangle's phone. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. There we go. That's what I'm looking at. Over on hand.
Tell us,
developer.
Mr. Nangle, tell us, just give us your address for the record, and then tell us, please, what we are looking at, since we're not sure.
Richard Nangle, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 15. You're looking at 2 houses under construction by this developer and how it looks from my property. I don't want the people at Lyman Road to have to suffer this. I want to speak tonight about the adverse impact on the neighborhood that looms from the development at 60 Lyman Road, specifically a zoning violation involving nuisance lighting. And let me just interrupt myself and say that what Mr. Allen said about town meeting is not true. It did not reject a warrant article. It sent the warrant article back for referral. It's going to come back in May, and it's going to I'm presenting. I'm like there are a row of lampposts on the driveway on Woodland Road that are similarly bright. These are projects that this board approved. The special permit said that there could be no adverse impact on the neighborhood. Obviously, that language was not taken seriously by the developer. In June, the building commissioner wrote to this same developer and homeowners to request that you continue to work on a solution to the ongoing zoning violation at the various properties that you own, manage, or are associated with as an owner. The properties of 136, 138, 150, 152, 154, 168 Woodland Road. It was the second time the building commissioner had written to these homeowners. The first time was in March. In the meantime, the 2 new houses and nuisance exterior lights that you see have been added to the already bright driveway lampposts and nuisance lighting on the previously occupied homes referenced by the building commissioner. The building commissioner has informed the developer and homeowners that occupancy permits for these two properties will be withheld until the nuisance lighting is removed. And yet, as you can see, the lights remain on. I took this picture tonight before the meeting. We are encouraged by the planning board recommendation for Lyman Road that all exterior lighting be installed and maintained so that it cannot shine on nearby homes. That's reasonable, and it's not happening here, as you can see. The ZBA would be doing this community a great service by postponing action tonight, coordinating with the building commissioner to ensure the mitigation of the present zoning bylaw violations by this developer and put an end to the ongoing adverse effect on the neighborhoods at Woodland Road and Cabot Road prior to the issuance of a Lyman Road special permit. Otherwise, we cannot expect this developer to adhere to regulations regarding nuisance lighting at 60 Lyman Road. Also, because of these ongoing violations, the privilege of a special permit should be denied. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir.
We do have two other speakers, Hugh Joseph.
All
First
right.
up.
Sorry, say it again. Hugh Joseph?
Hugh Joseph, yes.
Hugh Joseph. Yes, Mr. Joseph.
Mr. Joseph, there he is.
Yeah, can you,
Yes, good. We can hear you. Please proceed.
okay, just give me 1 second, please.
And give us your name for the record, please. Sorry, your address for the record.
Yes, my name is Hugh Joseph. My address is 676 Hammond Street. I am also a TMM in precinct 15, and I'm reflecting similar support for Richard Nangle's comments about this. I'm actually the chair of the Friends of Dane Park, and the builder for 60 Lyman Road, who's seeking a special permit. Well, I am also asking for you to delay the permit until that builder addresses the issues related to the same issues on lighting in this neighborhood and buildings that have been constructed as and have the same kinds of brightness concerns and lighting concerns. So I'm aware of the issues related to this builder and the homes because I've seen their homes. They're all around where I live. And the original ones in the past were not big and bright and all that, but the most recent ones, they shine up wherever they are, and just putting lots of trees to shade a neighborhood does not take away from the fact that, you know, that kind of really contravenes all the efforts being taken in Brookline and elsewhere to have darkness at night and stop lighting up the skies and wasting energy and contributing to the problems that result from using light outdoors simply because you think every building you construct is also like a mini Taj Mahal or something, and the world needs to know about it. So where we are in these homes that I'm referring to, the lights do shine into other properties, into the other people's homes every night. And there have been efforts to address this, but nothing's changed. The building department has tried to address this with the builder, but to no avail. So as the chair of the Friends of Dane Park, it's a passive park. It's home to many species of birds, of deer, fox, coyotes, other kinds of wildlife. And because of the lighting with this new construction, it's sort of like a Fenway Park there, the way it looks when you go there at night, especially at this time of year when there are no leaves to shade anything between where these houses are and neighbors who may live at a distance, including Richard, for example. And so it clearly impacts the neighborhood adversely. So what I'm asking that this is an opportunity you have, instead of rubber stamping those requests for that particular home, is that you work together with the building department to mitigate this situation and delay the special permitting for this house until it's addressed with these other houses, because we've put a lot of time and effort into it and nothing is happening.
Mr. Joseph, can you just confirm for us, you mentioned Dane Park, and is it the case that Dane Park is near the other Woodland Road properties that Mr. Nangle mentioned, and it is not near Lyman Road?
Right,
Is
it's
that
near,
correct?
yes, it's not near
Right.
Long Road. This is
Right.
just an ancillary problem with the builder. And if you could just continue to approve all of these requests by them, and nothing is happening with the issues of the existing houses or the ones that are being finished up with construction over at this end, then it removes an opportunity to put a little pressure on resolving it, and it really needs to be resolved.
Thanks for clarifying. I just want to mention to folks who have their hands up on the Zoom, I want to make sure that you understand that if you would like to speak, what you need to do is to contact Nicole. We will not be calling on raised hands.
Actually,
through
sorry,
the
Randall,
Zoom.
Chair, we do now call on hands because that's the
Oh.
only way people can communicate.
Oh, because of the new Zoom format. I beg
Yes.
your pardon, everybody. So I
So
didn't see the
next-
hands go up before, but did they come up from?
Some people chatted, some people were able to chat, but I think procedure is supposed to allow the hand raising.
Okay, that's another revision to the script. Were you keeping track of or do you have an order for us to follow,
I do.
Nicole? Then
Dominica
all right.
Kovacs.
Hello, good evening. I'm Dominica Kovacs. This is my husband, Jose Negron. We live at 856 Hammond Street, which faces the Woodland Road housing that Richard Nagel and Hugh Joseph just spoke to. And Nicole, may I just share my screen to show a photo I took a couple hours ago?
Actually, Ms. Covey, before you do that, can I ask, we did get to see Richard's pictures. I know they were on his phone, and I think the board understands the connection to the developer, but we are hearing a case about a Lyman Road property tonight, and I'm not sure I'm not sure we are going to spend much more time on
So maybe
seeing images of other properties.
Sure. So maybe what is relevant here is the choice of wording was no light that shines directly on a home. And what this picture can illustrate is that the light doesn't have to shine directly on a home to alter the quality of enjoying your home and the intrusion that that light can cause. So our entire face of the home, from the kitchen to our sitting room to the bedrooms that are upstairs, face that light interference all night long, to the point where you have to put in blackout shades. Okay. I shouldn't have to have a blackout shade to be able to sleep, or my children to be able to sleep. I mean, I'm sure you all enjoy the possibility of opening a window in the summer and feeling that cool breeze. We can't do that because you have to have a dark out shade, or else it's like a disco in your bedroom. So the word choices and the decisions that we're making for Lyman Road, we have a real life example, and it's not just shining directly on a home that matters. If a home is lit up, if it's white, if it is, as the analogy that, lit up as a Taj Mahal, that's going to interfere with the quality of enjoying your own home if you're nearby and there's nothing to block it.
All right. Thank you for the comments.
Ira Kripchen.
Yeah, Ira Kripchen. Thank you, Nicole. Mr. Kripchen, go ahead and give us your address for the record, please.
His hand has gone down, so maybe he no
Maybe
longer
we
wishes
had better go to another hand, and we will come back to Ira Krepchen if we can. Is Jane Flanagan, is that the next,
Yes,
Nicole?
Jane Flanagan.
All right. Ms.
Hi, my name
Flanagan,
is-
thank you.
Hi,
Your address
thank
for the
you.
record, please.
Thank you. My name's Jane Flanagan. I'm also a town meeting member in precinct 15. I live at 854 Hammond Street. And I'm speaking on a brighter swath of precinct 15, including people who live on Sayers Road, which is actually not very near here at all, as well as neighbors on Heath Street regarding the special permit for 60 Lyman Road. Like others who've spoken before me tonight, I am requesting that you delay the special permit until we know the plan for external lighting really clearly in this neighborhood, on this house. I do ask for this delay because this builder does need to address the current issues related to the adverse effect that it is having on the neighborhood. And when I say the neighborhood, I mean the wider neighborhood of, again, Sears Road is 2 miles from here. So I'm really talking about where this builder has impacted homes throughout the precinct. And again, as stated before, the external lighting on this home is excessive. It's shining not only onto homes, but into those homes. And this isn't just a few hours up to midnight. It is actually from dawn to dusk. And so it's all night, every night, 7 nights a week. And I also do want to correct that town meeting did not reject the planning board lighting warrant article. It did need to be referred for revision. So I think it's important to have that in the record. So I just want to say that I hope that you are able to work together with our building department to mitigate this situation. And I also request that you do consider a delay in the special permitting until this is addressed. I appreciate all of your service to the town. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. I think we have Mr. Krepchen.
Yes, you've got me.
Can we hear?
Sorry.
Okay, very good. We see
Sorry
you and
about
we
the
hear you.
confusion.
And yeah, please go ahead and give us your address for the record, please.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize the fact that lighting is more than just an issue of annoyance. It's actually a public health issue, and there's lots of evidence of harm that can come to human beings and nature and the environment, public safety. And without going into specifics, I just want to make sure you're aware of that when you consider the impacts of what's going on and all the properties that have been discussed, and in particular the one on Lyman Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole, have we heard from everyone in the public who would like to speak?
Yes, we have Shirley Dang. I just want to confirm if you wanted to speak, please.
Yeah. This is Shirley Deng, and I'm from 50 Lyman Street. So it's right next to 60 Lyman. So I want to ask the developer because I saw the land, right now the land is kind of a hill, so it's very high. So if the building was built on the hill, so it seems my house has no privacy. The owner of the house can see everything in my backyard and my house. So is there any way I just want to ask the developer, is there any way to solve this problem?
Mr. Allen, would you like to respond?
Yeah, as a direct abutter, you'll be instrumentally involved and we'll work with you on the landscaping plan so that we can screen your properties, screen your property at 50. And we feel fairly confident that can be accomplished. And we've discussed that with Mark Cirillo, our landscape architect, and we'll include you in the formation of a landscaping plan and walk the sites with you. You'll be intricately involved in the development of that landscaping plan.
So the house is going to build on the top of the hill, right? Are you going to flat the land to build a house?
To some degree, but not completely.
So a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. But we'll work with you so that you're protected.
So you mean you are going to work with me? It means after the permit approval or before the permit approval?
We have to file a landscaping plan before we can get a building permit.
Oh,
So
okay.
in between this and before we get the landscaping, before we get the building permit, we'll work with you on it, and Mr. Cirillo will reach out to you on a screening plan.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. let's see, Nicole, are we at the end of public comment now? Oh, I just saw another hand go up. I
Janice
think we're
Khan.
going to hear from Janice Khan.
Yes, and apologies. Janice Khan, I'm at 63 Craftsland Road. I am town meeting member in precinct 15. And so I won't repeat what others have said. I joined the discussion a little bit late, so I don't know if but I want to respond a little bit to the abutter who just spoke, which is that typically this developer clear cuts the land. And if there are any mature trees that could help with screening, I would hope that the developer would work with the neighbor to retain any trees that exist that might really help to address that problem, to really work with it. I know that in the past she has done that, working with neighbors in Newton, and I would hope that that could be done for this particular neighbor who's a constituent here as well. And I just want to echo about the extreme lighting that is being used. It is very disruptive to all of us who live in this area. The lighting goes far beyond the properties that are lit, especially the house that I pass on Heath Street near Single Tree Road. I mean, that is there. The problem is that not only is it on a hill, not only was the acreage clear cut, but the lighting is actually all in the ceiling, all surrounding the ceiling. So it looks like really an event place where people are having a wedding or something. It is super lit. And I appreciate the fact that it's nice to have lighting, but I think it's really important that we're very respectful to our neighbors and so I would urge you, as my fellow town meetings members have already said, to please defer any decision on this pending the building department working with this particular developer. Thank you very much.
All right, Janice, thanks for the comments.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I was just going to ask whether you'd respond, especially, and I think you heard the comments, Mr. Allen. We heard quite a lot about lighting at beginning and end, and a few other things in the middle. Do you want to tell us about what you'd like to do?
We actually heard nothing about lighting on this property on 60 Lyman Road. We've been talking about Woodland Road, and that is a matter. Everybody wants us to work with the building department. Well, we are. The building department hasn't given us a certificate of occupancy, hasn't given us a temporary certificate of occupancy on those houses.
On Woodland Road.
On Woodland Road, we're working with them. And the problem is, Mr. Chairman, is there are no set standards in this area. For instance, on Woodland Road, we got direction from the electrical inspector that later on the building commissioner wasn't comfortable with. There's no definitive standards and for lighting in our town. And
well, I guess I'm asking, Mr. Allen, if you're taking anything away from the way that the building commissioner or his designee is exercising their judgment on the properties by your client, that you could use
in Woodland Road. Oh yes, I mean, when we get to a point on Woodland Road as to what the building commissioner is comfortable for the outdoor lighting, then that will be in court. We're not going to agree to something on Woodland Road and not do it on Yarmouth Road. That would be foolish. So whatever we work out with the building commissioner on Woodland Road will carry over to Yarmouth Road. There's no question about that. And we have to work something out because we're not going to get a certificate of occupancy. But let me just point out something on Woodland Road that's important. And
try me.
Okay. There are houses on Woodland Road that are occupied. Earlier this year, because of motion detection outdoor lighting.
Yeah, Mr. Allen, let's not talk about Woodland Road. I guess what I'll leave you with is I think it goes without saying that this board does strongly encourage you to work with the building department, keep in communications, listen to them, exercising their reasonable judgment as we see it.
We absolutely are working with the building department on the lighting issue. Absolutely.
All right.
I think it would be
Any
helpful to
other-
hear the building department report because they do speak to that.
Right. I just wanted to say after leaving the end of public comment, Mr. Allen, anything else you want to talk about before we go to what Nicole is about to do?
No, but I would say, the one person that actually is in a butter, is in the neighborhood that spoke is the lady from 50 Lyman Road, and we take her comments seriously, and we'll be working with her to make sure that we can screen to maximum extent possibly her property.
Well, I hope you will take seriously the concerns of all the properties surrounding, this your subject Lyman Road property, whether they appeared at this hearing or not.
Of course, we always do.
All right, thank you. Nicole, let's have the planning department and board report, please.
Okay, great. The planning department has no issues with the requested relief. We found the large lot to be consistent with the development pattern of the S25 district, and the requirements under 509(2)(n) have been met for the impact statement. Additionally, the relief sought for the porch projection into the front yard is minor. Therefore, staff finds the relief appropriate given the counterbalancing amenity of landscaping is provided. The planning board had no objection to the requested relief and voted unanimously to recommend approval. However, the board identified some areas of fine improvement, which were already discussed. The planning board acknowledged the abutters concerned about overlighting trees and damage to the private road. There's a strike through here regarding the condition that we will be addressing later when I read those. And then additionally, it is recommended that the applicant repair any construction related damage to the private way. So therefore, moving to the conditions, the planning board recommends approval of the site plan by Vern T. Porter Jr. PLS dated September 18th, 2024, and the architectural plans by McKay Architects dated November 4th, 2024, subject to the following conditions. 1, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall electronically submit final floor plans and elevations stamped and signed by a registered architect and a final site plan stamped and signed by a registered engineer or land surveyor to the Director for Regulatory Planning or designee for review and approval. 2, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall submit a landscape plan stamped and signed by a registered landscape architect to the Director for Regulatory Planning for review and approval. The applicant shall provide written evidence of compliance with the tree protection bylaw, including, if adopted, the amended standards submitted by town meeting, specifically regarding mitigation of removal of trees. 3, if the applicant chooses to convert the basement to habitable space, no more than 1,887 square feet of basement area may be converted to habitable space pursuant to section 522. And 4, all exterior lighting on the site shall be installed and maintained so that no direct light shines on nearby homes. And 5, prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy, any damage of private way caused by the construction activity shall be repaired in accordance with the town standards. And 6, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall electronically submit to the building commissioner for review and approval, a site plan, floor plan, and elevations displaying the approval stamp of the Director for Regulatory Planning and evidence the Board of Appeals decision was obtained from the town clerk's office by the applicant or representative and recorded at the Registry of Deeds. And moving
Nicole,
to the
sorry, just a question about the conditions. And I know it's a minor thing, but when we have an item of relief that requires a counterbalancing amenity, isn't that usually doesn't that find a home in one of the conditions somewhere?
Yeah, there should be a sentence here that says number 2.
Well, it doesn't. It talks about landscaping. It doesn't specifically say
it
for the
usually
counter.
says, the counterbalance amenities shall be executed in accordance with the approved landscape plan. Or counterbalancing amenities shall be installed in accordance with the approved landscape plan.
Okay. All right. Thank you. If we could edit that in there, that would.
Mr. Allen, are you comfortable with that?
Feel familiar?
Standard.
Randolph?
Yes.
Randolph?
Yeah, Jesse, go ahead.
Typically in 2, at the end of the phrase landscaping plan, would add language such as indicating all proposed counterbalancing amenities.
That's it.
And
That's
then
the
we
word.
Indicate,
carry
yeah, thank you.
forward for the rest of it.
We have no objection to that.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks,
Thanks for
everybody.
pointing that out.
All right.
Moving on.
Building Department.
Moving on to the building department report, I have a memo from Paul R. Campbell, Deputy Building Commissioner, dated today regarding 60 Lyman Road, zoning special permit 2024-00050. He writes, the building department has received several complaints with respect to exterior lighting at projects performed by C. Stumpo Development. In an attempt to obtain compliance, the department continues to investigate and monitor ongoing complaints, has given C. Stumpo Development verbal warnings, and has issued violation letters for the Woodland Road residents regarding exterior lamppost and exterior lighting for dwellings. The department would prefer that condition number 2 remain as to limit and or eliminate any adverse impacts to the neighborhood under section 905B. The department has no objection to the requested relief and will work with the petitioner to ensure compliance with the zoning bylaw, board decision, and applicable codes. So that condition 2, as is currently written, is what he's referring to.
You mean 2 or 4?
Oh, he said 2, but whatever condition it's for, yes.
Could you just read that phrase again, Nicole? Because it sounded like it was relating to the 905 language.
Yeah, so he has the wrong number of the condition. He's definitely referring to the lighting condition, which is number 4. Thank you, Jesse. But he writes, the department would prefer that condition corrected number 4 remain as limited or as to limit or eliminate any adverse impact to the neighborhood, section 905B in parentheses.
Right, thank you. Yeah, 9051B, shall not, use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Is your understanding that he is relying on that or that he would rely on that to make a judgment about lighting at this Lyman Road property?
That's my understanding.
All right, thank you. Members of the board, any other questions about the planning board and department report or building department? Jesse?
No.
Shaking his head, no. Wadner?
I just have a question. Whether 9051C would, the lighting shall not be a nuisance to the neighborhood. If that okay, because it, the way it described from the testimony that we heard, it is a nuisance in a sense that it's a nuisance that adversely affect the neighborhood. So
Well,
I'm not sure if we can add that.
Well, Wadner, you're plucking the word nuisance out of the other item C, which has to do with people traveling in the public way, vehicles or
Right.
pedestrians. And I think the language that Nicole read for us, adversely affect the neighborhood. I think that's where the building department went first, rather than just to talk about streets effectively, which is what vehicles and pedestrians get to. I don't disagree that it's a nuisance, but I wonder whether you would defer to the building department in choosing to work under 9051B.
Well, either way, we just have to be very clear that the conditions, so that that's, well, yeah, we can work with B, but I think the word maybe not related to C, but if the condition can actually, say it's not a nuisance, it's not like we don't say there's no lighting, but it's not a nuisance. So there's many ways they can actually put outside lighting that it's not a nuisance to the neighbor, in the neighborhood. I would say that, yeah, we can stay with It just, I prefer that if we use the word nuisance, but I know you referring the nuisance in some working, but people working in the
I think we're sort of getting, I think we're getting over into deliberation, which is probably where we should be. But let me say, I want to have Jesse start us out and then come back to you about the condition relating to lighting. But we could just go back to the top with the overall request for relief. Jesse, can you give us your thoughts about it?
Sure. So we're in deliberation, right?
Yes, we are.
So, so there is a common builder here. That is true. But legally, there's a separate LLC that's been set up. It's affiliated with these other entities. I think this body is not the enforcement body for the town in terms of violations of the zoning bylaw. And I think it would be a legally untenable position for us to take, that due to violations of the zoning bylaw or complaints of violations under the zoning bylaw by the contractor at other sites, that we would have the ability to, on that basis, withhold a special permit or any other relief in this instance. So I want to be clear about that. I'm not unsympathetic to the neighborhood. I think this is outrageous what is going on. It's a nuisance, and they certainly have a legal right to file an action under as claiming there is a nuisance as a result of this. They can sue this contractor and they can sue the property owners. They're all probably single purpose entities, limited liability companies that are all affiliated. I think it's outrageous that anybody would think that lights should be on for a long period of time and that this wouldn't be impactful to a neighborhood. I mean, I'm not sure what goes through the head of somebody who develops properties in private neighborhoods like this and thinks that this is appropriate. But it has nothing to do with this case, frankly. So I want to be very clear about that. And frankly, Jeffrey, the solution is you put a switch. All lights operate off of switches. There are ways to turn lights off or to reduce lights. I find this unbelievable. I'm not looking for a response.
Not responding.
Thank you. With respect to the relief that's requested for this new house, it's a large house. I think it is consistent with the neighborhood. Frankly, I think it generally meets the requirements. I am in favor of granting special permit relief because I think it meets the requirements under 509. It meets the requirements under 543 should they be approved for the landscaping to offset the nature of the nonconformity. The nonconformity in this case is de minimis in my mind, but they do need the relief. So I would be in favor of that. I think that subject to appropriate conditions, it would meet the requirements under section 9.05. And again, I want to be very clear. I do not believe that the ZBA has the ability to withhold a special permit because of things that are going on other sites, as angry as that makes me. So I'm just going to cut to the chase. I'm fine with the conditions with one exception. I want the condition number 4 to be the original condition that was proposed, because otherwise my view is I don't think it meets the requirements under 905. Okay, that allows me, I agree with the building commissioner. I want to be clear about that. That's my comment.
Can we just know what specific the condition is you're proposing?
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Let me ask that if I can, Mr. Allen. I want to make sure I follow you here, Jesse. Can you read the version of the condition relating to lighting that you would prefer
Yes.
and support.
So Nicole, you'll correct me if I have this wrong. This is the one that the applicant rejected. And I don't have any faith in the applicant. So unfortunately, Jeffrey, this is the one that I want. All exterior lighting on the site shall be installed and maintained so that no direct light or glare shines on nearby homes. That's what I had as the original language. And now, Nicole, is that the original language that the building commission, that,
No.
what is the language that Paul is referring to? Let's be clear.
The language that Paul is referring to is the one that's currently in the version that's posted online.
I didn't hear what you
Read
said.
it. Could you read that, please?
Yeah.
Yes. All exterior lighting on the site shall be installed and maintained so that no direct light shines on nearby homes. Jeffrey and I
thought
had,
I thought that was the applicant's revised version.
the same version that the building department saw.
So the building department does not need or glare shines on nearby homes?
No, I told him that Jeffrey didn't want that included.
Okay, I want it included.
Can I just speak to that for a second? The problem with, if I have the chair's permission,
Yes, please, go ahead.
the problem with that condition, Jesse, is there's no way to measure glare. In a lot of these homes, including some the police department have approved, are thrilled with, have what's called motion lights, exterior lights that come on motion, that are on at night. Only at night are they activated. So, for instance, on Woodland Road, there was an armed attack, an armed attempted one-armed man with an accomplice tried to get into Woodland Road home while it was occupied, and the motion lights went on and allowed the police and protected the police in chasing these people to apprehend them. If we didn't have those lights, they would have gotten into the house. If we didn't have the lights, the police would have been operating in darkness. So there needs to be a little more work on what means glare, when they're operated, and so forth. They shouldn't be on all night. They shouldn't be on all the time. I agree with you. But when we don't know what glare means, and my discussions with the building department is that, and they agree there's no way to measure glare. All the street lights in town glare on nearby homes.
Well, you're not responsible for the streetlights, Mr. Allen. I think that's helpful. I think we, as you point out, we will have to leave this to the building department. Jesse, as you've said, zoning board is not a enforcement agent. We'll rely on the building department to do that. But thanks, Mr. Allen. We're going to finish deliberation here.
Thank you.
Let me add one thing, Randolph.
Yeah.
The hope is, and hopefully this will make Mr. Allen feel better, or it'll make him feel worse, one or the other, is that through the friendly discussions between Mr. Allen and Mr. Campbell, that they will arrive at a reasonable solution, and that reasonable solution will inform the condition.
Absolutely. No problem with that whatsoever. That makes me happy. And it's not just Mr. Campbell, it's also the commissioner is very much involved, Mr. Bennett.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Allen. Just to be clear, before we go on to Wadner, is the only difference, Nicole, between the latest circulated version and what Jesse has spoken about is adding the words "or glare," so that no direct light or glare shines on nearby homes?
Yes.
Thank you. Wadner, your comments?
I do not have any comment. I just that the word, well, I do understand why my colleague Jesse wanna add the word glare on it, because you can, it's depending how the light is situated in the house, it might end up affecting the house next to the property, so.
I mean, I hope it does. I hope it gets a little bit towards the concept of nuisance that you were working with. It seems to me that it might do that. But again, I'm sorry to cut you off before, but I wanted to have a little more discussion, then come back to you on it.
No, that's exactly, you know, it's because if it's glare, that's mean it goes down to a nuisance, you know. I think glare mean that it's staying. There's a difference if somebody come in on the property, the motion detector, then the light come up. So part of it is how long the light is gonna stay on, for how long. It could be part of maybe something to work out with the department, the planning department, or to determine how long the light's supposed to stay on, because if it's on, it's gonna glare. But I do understand the point that there's a motion lights come in, but you can program the motion light to stay on either for 30 seconds or a minute, or
Sure,
even
sure.
5
I mean,
minutes.
beyond tonight, Wadner, and I think where we are now. You heard Jesse on his modification for that condition, and then his general support and acceptance of the request for relief under 509 and 551. Do you agree with those as well?
As long as I do agree, and then as long as condition 4, and I see Jesse kind of make a modification for the applicant to work with the building permit department to decide whether to kind of come in with a conclusion in terms of as long as it's not going to be a nuisance, and there are step taken in terms of addressing those lights. If they do have outdoor light, I'm not saying that we cannot have it, but there are steps that can be taken that can alleviate that nuisance to the neighborhood.
Okay, and your
basically
vote.
I'm agree to, as long as that condition is in place. The condition is in place that they will work with the building permit department to make sure that.
Wadner, no, I didn't hear that from Jesse. I'm not sure if you're trying to embroider or add to that comment. I mean, we have this. I'm just going to read it. All exterior lighting on this site shall be installed and maintained so that no direct light or glare shines on nearby homes.
No, we took out.
No. If you want to add as reviewed and determined by the building department, I'm fine with that.
But
all right, thanks, Jesse. No, sorry, Mr. Allen. We're not going to come back to you.
I'm not sure what the condition is, though. I thought Jesse added that language in response.
Yes, Mr. Allen, it's okay. We're going to conclude this. I
don't know what the condition is.
That's all right. We're going to get to a decision,
No, it isn't.
whether you do or whether you don't.
Well, we're drafting on the fly, respectfully, Mr. Chairman, and I think the applicant has a right to know what the condition is and to comment. I heard something different from Jesse. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right.
Well, Mr. Allen, we are in deliberation now, and I would just.
It's on the screen right now.
Thank you.
All right, Nicole, thanks for putting that up there. I'm just going to take something down that I've got in the way. Wadner, just want to make sure is does this tie it up for you? This reference to the building department, which I understand you're concerned about them picking this up next.
Yes, that I'm comfortable with that.
All right. Thank you. For myself, I will say I also would like to vote in favor of this modified condition 4, and going back to the zoning bylaw itself. I do find that the massing scale and so on of this proposed house are not substantially greater than other structures to which we should be comparing it according to the bylaw. I'm in favor of a grant of a special permit for the minor projection into the front yard with a counterbalancing amenity, which we expect to see in the form of landscaping. And I believe that the special permit conditions for under 905 have been met. So with that, it is a unanimous grant of approval with the conditions as modified that have been read into the record. Thank you all for your patience, and thank you for your participation. And I will now take a motion to adjourn, and we'll have a vote on that. Who would like to make that motion? Moved by Wadner. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Jesse. On the motion to adjourn, Wadner?
Yes.
Yes. Jesse?
Yes.
Yes, and the chair votes yes. It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Good night. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right.
Good night.